Chapter 1. Before. I never understood why people said you can choose not to marry someone your parents arrange for you, but you should definitely avoid marrying someone they disapprove of. It wasn't until after I got married that I realized how much foresight there was in that saying. Sam was my colleague. He was gentle and considerate, and I fell deeply in love with him, unable to pull myself out. After I married him, I did enjoy a period of what I believed was happiness. But then, my life changed. When Sam got home from work, he kicked off his shoes, lay down on the couch, and started playing on his phone. "Honey, I'm exhausted. Hurry and make dinner." I loved him deeply, so I didn't care that I had just come home from work too, equally tired. I pushed through the exhaustion to make him dinner. After setting the food on the table, Sam remained in the same position, still glued to his phone. "Honey, dinner's ready," I said. When we had just gotten married, I would cook, and Sam would stand behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist, saying, "You're working too hard. Honey, why don't you quit your job? I'll take care of you." I was deeply moved, feeling like the happiest person in the world. But before the warmth of that happiness even faded, Sam became a different person. We went to work and came home together, but once he got home, he just lay around, glued to his phone, refusing to lift a finger around the house. If he was thirsty, he'd call out, "Honey, get me some water." If he was hungry, he'd say, "Honey, hurry up and make dinner. I'm starving." He was always attached to his phone, holding it while eating, in the bathroom, and even in bed. His eyes were practically glued to the screen. One day, I had terrible menstrual cramps. On the way home, I said to Sam, "Could you make dinner tonight? My stomach really hurts." Sam wore a scowl the whole way home, and when we got there, he snapped, "Miriam, I asked my mom already. Menstrual cramps aren't even an illness. You're just lazy. Do more housework, and you'll be fine." My lower abdomen felt as cold as ice, the sharp pain twisting like a spoon stirring inside me. Every step I took was excruciating. All I wanted was to crawl into bed, hug a hot water bottle, or even just have a cup of warm ginger tea. Curled up in bed, the intense pain left me unable to move. But Sam got angry, reaching out to grab me. "Miriam, didn't you hear me? Are you pretending your stomach hurts just so you don't have to cook? Every woman has her period. Why are you being so dramatic?" When we were dating, I'd get cramps, and Sam would bring me a warm ginger tea, his eyes red with concern as he saw me trembling in pain. With heartfelt emotion, he'd say, "If only I could take the pain for you. It breaks my heart to see you like this." That memory feels like it happened just yesterday. Now, as I watch Sam pull at me, his mouth opening and closing, I no longer have the energy to argue. "Could you please just order takeout?" The moment Sam heard the word takeout, he yanked me even harder, almost dragging me to the floor. "My mom says takeout isn't healthy. Restaurants don't even wash their vegetables properly. What's your problem? Are you trying to curse me to death?" My mind went completely blank. When we were dating, Sam was always the most enthusiastic about choosing takeout when I couldn't decide. Sometimes, even when I didn't feel like eating out, he'd grab my phone and order for me. Now, why does ordering takeout seem like it's going to kill him? I could barely get up to cook, let alone crawl back into bed. Chapter 2. Sam kicked me a few times before slamming the door and heading to the living room. As he walked away, I heard him on the phone, "Mom, that damn woman wouldn't make me dinner. I'm coming over to eat now." "You're right. I shouldn't have spoiled her." Shivering, I reached for my phone and dialed my brother's number. The call connected quickly, and my brother's gentle voice came through. "Miriam, what's wrong?" I forced myself to sound calm and softly said, "It feels like I haven't seen you in a long time." "Brother, Miriam, your voice sounds off. Did something happen?" My brother paused for a moment, then asked, "Where's Sam?" Hearing his concern, I couldn't hold back my tears. "Sam went to his mom's for dinner." "Brother, I've been deceived. Sam's a complete mama's boy." My stomach hurts so badly, and not only did he not care, he even hit me. "Wait there. I'll be right over." My brother's voice was filled with rage. "Don't tell Mom and Dad just yet. I cautioned. Although they never liked Sam, I had insisted on marrying him, and they eventually relented. I lay on the cold floor for a while, gathering my strength before slowly crawling to my feet and shuffling out of the bedroom. My brother lived nearby, so it wouldn't take him long to drive over. I needed to unlock the door for him. When I opened the door, I had already used up all my strength. Seeing the state I was in, he rushed to support me. Should we go to the hospital? Going to the hospital won't help menstrual cramps. All I need is a hot water bottle and a cup of warm ginger tea, and I'll feel better after that. I couldn't stand straight from the pain, so I leaned on my brother's arm and sat down. You're in this much pain, and Sam didn't even care? He just went to his mom's for dinner? My brother glanced around the rooms, stopping at the kitchen door where the pots were cold and untouched. His face darkened with anger. I'm going to find him. Brother, don't. Just help me fill the hot water bottle first. I pointed to the drawer where it was kept, watching him, with his face tense and veins popping in frustration as he boiled water and filled the hot water bottle. My nose suddenly stung with the urge to cry. He handed me the hot water bottle and poured me a cup of hot water. Is this enough? Holding the hot water bottle, I felt warmth return to my icy abdomen, and the intense pain began to ease. It's much better now. My brother paced the room angrily. This isn't going to be a one-time thing. Do you get cramps this badly every month? When he saw me nod, his face darkened even more. You won't let me go after that bastard Sam. And you don't want me to tell Mom and Dad. Are you really planning to keep living like this? He hit you too, didn't he? I gently brushed the spots where Sam had kicked me. Brother, I know I can't keep living like this, but I don't want to let him off so easily. Sam and I worked at the same company, and I'd been covering for him on a lot of tasks he couldn't finish. His performance has been climbing steadily thanks to my help, but his attitude toward me at home has been getting worse by the day. With my help, he's been promoted several times, and most of his current work is essentially done by me. Hearing this, my brother calmed down and sat beside me. So, what's your plan? I want to quit first, find a new job, and then get a divorce, I said, laying out my plan. Sam isn't good at his job, and as long as he treated me well, I was willing to help him because I did it willingly. Sam is a mama's boy. As long as he could maintain the love and care he showed me when we got married, I could tolerate it. But, Chapter 3, Sam wasn't just a mama's boy, he also hit me. Following his mother's instructions, domestic violence happens either 0 times or countless times. What kind of plan is that? It doesn't do any real damage to Sam. At least you weren't foolish enough to hand over the dowry to him and his mother, my brother said, glaring at me with frustration. You're the perfect example of someone who ignores advice and ends up suffering for it. I sighed. The company Sam and I work for is at a critical point for his promotion. Without my help, there's no way he can get promoted. He can't even handle his current position on his own. If I quit and take another job, what do you think that means for him? Knocking him back down to where he started is the biggest punishment. If I push him back to square one, I want to see how far he can climb without my help now that he's reached this level. Without his current position, Sam won't be able to pay off the mortgage or the car loan. Just stick to your plan, but don't regret it later and decide not to get a divorce, my brother said. Now understanding my intention, the pain in my abdomen had eased, so I stood up and went to the kitchen to find some ginger sugar, putting it in a cup of hot water. I never imagined that in my married life, I wouldn't even be able to get a cup of warm water. Get ready. I'll take you out for dinner, my brother said, glancing at his watch. He'll be back soon. I'll just order takeout. Thanks, brother. With my work experience, could I join your company? After finally uttering the word divorce, I had a new plan. I'd been blind when it came to marriage, but I couldn't afford to be without a job. My company and Sam's are in the same industry. According to the rules, you can't join a competing firm right after quitting, depending on what your contract says, my brother replied. That's not an issue. I'm just a regular clerk, so the contract doesn't impose any restrictions. I've gone over it carefully, I said. When it comes to work, I've never been careless. The only place I had been blind was in helping Sam tirelessly, bringing him to where he is today. As long as you keep your head straight, it'll be fine. With you being my sister, you can enter my company, but once you're in, I won't bend the rules to help you, my brother said, seeing I wasn't keen on going out to eat. He talked with me for a bit and we agreed on a secret check-in phrase. He was worried that once I quit, Sam might try to restrict my freedom. After my brother left, I finished my ginger tea and ordered some takeout. I had been craving spicy and flavorful boiled fish for a while. Sam doesn't eat spicy food, so I always had to settle for bland meals to accommodate him. Sam came home very late, reeking of alcohol. When he saw me, he slammed the door harshly. "You useless hen that can't even lay eggs." An overwhelming chill swept over me. I've been doing the work of two people, and having a child was never part of our plan. But to Sam, in the end, I was just a hen that can't lay eggs? I was so angry I wanted to cry. Watching him collapse onto the couch like a pile of mud, I forced myself to hold back my tears. In the past, whenever Sam came home from social events and lay on the couch like this, I'd rush to cover him with a blanket, worried he'd catch a cold. But now, I didn't want to move. I drafted my resignation letter, citing health reasons, and sent it to HR. The next morning, when Sam woke up from his drunken stupor, it was as if nothing had happened. He drove me to work as usual. He already had his own office, while I still sat in a cubicle. So when I went to HR to finalize my resignation, he had no idea. Chapter 4. After finalizing my resignation, I went straight home. It wasn't until Sam came to pick me up from work that he realized I wasn't at the office. He angrily called me. "How could you skip work?" I responded calmly. "I didn't skip work. You came home last night and told me to quit my job so I could focus on getting pregnant. So I just followed your advice." "Impossible. I would never tell you to quit." Sam exploded over the phone. My salary wasn't much, but he had factored it into our mortgage payments. Hearing him rage only made me speak even more gently. "Last night, you came home after dinner at your mom's place and said that she called me a useless hen who can't lay eggs. You told me to quit. Don't you remember?" He might not remember most of what I said, since I made it up, but the phrase useless hen was something his mother often called me. Feeling wronged, I added, "Last night, you were watching me send the resignation email. Did you forget?" Sam was speechless. "But why didn't you talk to me about it this morning? You were on the phone all morning, dealing with business calls. Did I even have a chance to speak? Anyway, I've already resigned. When you come home from work, there'll be a hot meal waiting for you," I said, having already bought groceries and cooked dinner, obediently waiting for Sam to come home and eat. Sam came back, still fuming, and complained, "Resigning from your job is a big deal. Why didn't you at least discuss it with me?" A tear welled up in my eye as I thought of how he always followed his mother's advice about not spoiling me. "You hit me and forced me to quit," I said, lifting my pajama pants to reveal the red marks on my leg. "I asked if we could talk about it, but you said you're the head of the household, and you make the decisions." "I hit you?" Sam stared at the red marks on my leg in disbelief. I nodded. Of course, it was the truth. I don't know what went through Sam's mind, but he softened and said, "Well, why don't you take a few days off at home before you look for another job? We're still young. We can think about having kids in a few years. I'll talk to my mom about it." What a kind and considerate man. "Thank you, truly. Then I'll rest for a month before looking for a new job. I've been wanting to take a trip to Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand for a while now," I said, thinking how much I truly wished for Sam and his mother to be happily ever after. This was my most genuine thought. Before I met Sam, or rather, before I married him, my life was relatively carefree. I enjoyed a decent lifestyle, going shopping after work, taking vacations with friends during holidays, and relaxing. But after meeting Sam, my entire life revolved around him and our little home. My standard of living dropped lower and lower. Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand? That'll be expensive. Sam hesitated. "Why don't you just go to Hainan for a few days? Or maybe one of those vacation resorts with a hot spring?" "Let me think about it. I'll find something fun and affordable. Now come and eat before the food gets cold." I called Sam to the table. He looked troubled. I knew he thought a month off was too long. I didn't plan on actually resting for a month either. I intended to spend this month starting at a new company. Right now, The most exciting view for me wasn't a tourist destination, but watching Sam's inflated ego get knocked down a peg. I can't believe he thinks there's another fool out there who would willingly sacrifice her own future to help him like I did. Chapter 5. The ripple effects of my resignation started to show the very next day. Sam, who never used his phone during work hours, sent me a message out of the blue, asking me to help him handle a document. Naturally, I pretended I hadn't heard. These documents were basic clerical tasks, things that Sam should have been able to handle himself, especially after his promotion. Some of them contained important business information that required his personal attention. When Sam was a clerk, he could barely manage the basic files. How was he supposed to handle crucial business documents now? Meanwhile, I had already made plans to meet up with a few friends for a spa day. My friend Amanda, sitting next to me, teased, "You're something else. You know that? Married for so long, and this is the first time you've invited us out." Camila scoffed. She only ever has eyes for Sam. There's no room for us in her life. Well, now that I've got some free time, I thought I'd reconnect with you all, I said, feeling much more relaxed thanks to the aromatherapy from the spa. It really worked wonders for me. Everything was perfect, except for the sudden ringing of my phone, which was a bit jarring. "Looks like your husband's entered his emergency call mode," Camila said sarcastically. "Put it on speaker so I can hear how much he can't live without you." I answered the call and, following Camila's suggestion, put it on speaker. "Miriam, did you see my WeChat message?" Sam said, sounding anxious. "Can you check it? I'm in a bit of a hurry." Camila and Amanda both wisely remained silent. "Oh, I didn't hear any message notification," I replied casually. "I'm not at home right now." "You know Camila, right? The cousin of your division manager's niece? She invited me to a spa day. She's sitting right next to me. Do you want her to say hi?" "And no, that's all right. You guys enjoy yourselves. I'll handle it myself." Sam stammered. Of course. He knew Camila as the niece of his direct supervisor. There was no way he could afford to offend her. "Say hi to Camila for me." Camila made a disgusted face, and Amanda quickly clapped her hand over Camila's mouth to stop her from making a sound. Sam hung up the phone reluctantly. As soon as the call ended, Amanda couldn't hold back her curiosity. "What's going on with you two? Something feels off." I shifted into a more comfortable position on the couch. "I quit my job. I told him I'm preparing for pregnancy. Do you believe that?" "Not at all." Camila immediately sat down next to me, her previously sarcastic tone gone. She looked at me seriously. "Have you finally come to your senses? Are you trying to find yourself again?" I had lost myself because of Sam, and apart from my family, it was my friends who cared the most about me. Camila, always outspoken, had warned me from the start that Sam wasn't marriage material. Unfortunately, back then I was so smitten by Sam's tenderness that I ignored not only my parents' advice, but Amanda and Camila's too. I've never truly lost myself. I've always known what I wanted. The difference now is that I see Sam for what he really is. What he showed me in the past was a carefully crafted act, and now I'm pulling the brakes before it's too late. I had been captivated by Sam's warmth and affection, but the moment he revealed his true face, I knew I had to leave. I'm not foolish enough to stay in a toxic situation. Then I'll have my uncle fire him right away. I've wanted to get rid of him for ages. Camila cracked her knuckles. Always the straightforward one. She never liked Sam and didn't hesitate to say it. "Don't." I quickly stopped her. Firing him now would be pointless. He hasn't made any mistakes at work yet, and if you fire him without cause, he'll play the victim. Chapter 6. After finishing my spa day and saying goodbye to Amanda and Camila, I went grocery shopping before heading home. As I cooked, I texted Sam, "I'm done with everything and back home now. Can you resend the file you sent earlier?" The signal was bad, and I didn't receive it all. Sam replied that he was working late at the office, handling it himself. I smirked and laughed to myself, unbothered. "Well, you go ahead and work overtime. I've decided to take your advice and go to that hot spring resort. The signal is even worse there. If I disappear for a month, Sam won't be able to reach me at all." After dinner, I casually booked a 1-month retreat at the hot spring resort online. Then, I pulled out my suitcase and started packing my valuables. Personal documents, and some of my favorite clothes. Anything I could take. I packed whatever I left behind. I no longer cared for. I wasn't coming back to this house. The resort Sam suggested was part of a local leisure industry development. Located on the outskirts of our city, it boasted beautiful scenery, hot springs, and all the amenities one could need, except for decent Wi-Fi. The signal was weak because the resort was nestled in the mountains. The safety signal code my brother and I had agreed upon was ultimately unnecessary. Once I moved into the apartment I had received as part of my dowry, I texted my brother, I've left the house I shared with him. When can I start at the company? Tomorrow. Bring your resume, and the position will still be clerical. He responded without hesitation. Where are you staying? I'll come pick you up and you can stay with me. Your place is too close to Mom and Dad's. If I stay there, there's a higher chance they or Sam might find me. I'm staying at the apartment Mom and Dad gave me as part of my dowry. I haven't told Sam about it. I gave him the address. The apartment was a fully furnished, move-in ready unit, and I didn't need to do much to settle in. Then I'm moving in too. I don't feel comfortable with you living alone, my brother said. True to his efficient nature, he quickly arrived with his luggage and a few workers who carried in some furniture and a fridge. My eyes welled up with emotion. Brother, what are you doing? This place is fully furnished. I don't need anything. He directed the workers to place the furniture in the guest room and the fridge in the living room. These are things I'm used to. If Mom and Dad end up staying here, they'll bring even more stuff. Let's not tell them for now. I don't want them to be stressed when I get married, and then worry when I'm getting divorced, I said, knowing that there was no point in arguing with him about moving in. He placed a laptop in front of me. Start working on your resume, and take some time to learn about our company. Sitting nearby with another laptop, he started handling some work. You're my sister, so you should know by now that I always keep work and personal matters separate. I know, I'm confident in my abilities. Even if it's just a clerical position, I'll do it well, I said as I opened the laptop and started working on my resume. I had casually set my phone aside, and when it rang, I didn't bother to check it. My brother glanced at the screen. It's Sam calling. What did you tell him? Have you already mentioned the divorce? No, I just quit my job and told him I was going to Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. He suggested I go to the hot spring resort instead, I said, picking up the phone and answering it. Chapter 7. But the voice on the other end wasn't Sam's, it was his mother. Her sharp tone cutting through the line. Sam works so hard. And you, as his wife, don't even come home to cook? What kind of daughter-in-law are you? Get home right now and make dinner. I work hard too, I reflexively defended myself. Sam and I were colleagues, and I often took on his workload. Then, after work, I'd come home and cook for him, and still, he would complain about being exhausted, spend his evenings glued to his phone, and I'd tolerated this for 2 years? You call that hard work? Do you work harder than Sam? Sam's mother's voice rose even higher. I've never liked you. Let me tell you that. Now hurry back home and cook for Sam. If he loses weight, I won't let you off the hook. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, I already told Sam I'm going away for a month. I'll be heading into the mountains soon, and the signal is really bad. Hello? Hello? Oh well. Goodbye. I hung up the phone, finally noticing I had unread messages. Is that how Sam's mom normally talks to you? My brother stopped working and looked at me, clearly displeased. I hadn't put the call on speaker, but Sam's mother's voice was so shrill that he could easily hear everything she said. Not really. We don't live together, and I rarely see her. It's only Sam who goes over to eat. My brother shot me a cold look. Good thing you came to your senses quickly. If you had blindly stayed with him, you'd have dragged the whole family down with you. I've woken up, haven't I? I tugged lightly at my brother's sleeve. When we were kids, I'd always tug on his sleeve when I wanted something or needed comfort. But after I got married, we rarely saw each other, let alone had moments like this. What had I distanced myself from my loving family for? All for a man who wasn't even worth it. I felt like crying. Before we got married, Sam had been kind and considerate. But after the wedding, every time I said something, he'd counter with, "My mom says." Before we got married, Every weekend we would go to the movies, even though I always paid. I was happy to do so, but after we got married, though I still footed the bill, Sam seemed like a different person. He said, "My mom says going to the movies is a waste of money. Why don't we just watch TV at home? Your money needs to be planned for household expenses too." When we were in love, I used to buy new clothes frequently. After marriage, Sam said, "My mom says a woman only needs enough clothes to wear. Can you stop wasting money?" And that made you feel moved? My brother stopped working for a moment and ruffled my hair. "Now focus on those documents. No slacking. And don't think you can get away with it by acting cute. That's my brother. He says the toughest things. But in reality, he spoils me the most." I grabbed the laptop and started going through the materials. My brother's company dealt with similar business as my previous job. Thanks to Sam, I had become well-versed in this industry by handling all his paperwork. I also knew our former company's clients well. I had to familiarize myself with the client's information before preparing any documents, which was supposed to be Sam's job. But he dumped it all on me, from client data to crafting business plans and internal company strategies. I had mastered it all. If I were ruthless enough, I could use everything I know to destroy Sam, and maybe even land him in prison for years. But that's not my style. I'd rather knock him back down to where he belongs, face to face, and then walk away from him. With my brother's recommendation and my experience, getting hired as a clerk was going to be easy. Chapter 8. But I wasn't aiming to just be a clerk. I planned to spend this month putting myself on equal footing with Sam, or even surpassing him. Without me by his side for a month, I could already imagine the trouble he'd face. He was unfamiliar with industry data, didn't know the clients, and wasn't even aware of the company's internal plans. Sam called me constantly, sent texts, and bombarded me with messages on WeChat. The more frequently he reached out, the more passionate I felt about my work. Sam texted me, "Which folder is the company's procurement directory in?" I leisurely replied after work, "Drive D." He asked, "Honey, when are you coming home? It feels so empty here without you." He just wouldn't say, "I can't do this without you." And this was only day one. The next day, Camila called me, laughing hysterically on the phone. "You're Sam. How on earth did he get his current position? He's like a headless chicken at work. Even the newbies are more competent than him." "That's because it was me helping him all along," I said, feeling utterly embarrassed as I listened to her laughter. "You see what kind of man you chose? Let me tell you, with this guy, I don't even need to lift a finger. He'll manage to destroy himself." Camila, my best friend, was furious with me for choosing Sam. She even had a little resentment toward me because her cousin had chased after me for years. But I never paid him any attention. Instead, I fell for someone like Sam. All I could say was, "I know. I owe you an apology, all right?" Camila, unbothered, replied, "What's the point of saying that now? I'm telling you, you better not help him. Not even a bit. This guy can't even figure out how to look up the most basic data. He's just copying and pasting." Help him? I'm doing everything I can to avoid him. I booked a villa at the hot spring resort. Why don't you and Amanda go enjoy it? I've already paid for it, I said, sending her the online booking details. Don't let my money go to waste. At least you have some decency. But what's the deal with inviting just the two of us? Why aren't you coming? Camila grumbled. I need to focus on work for a while. Once my schedule normalizes, we can go back to our usual routine, weekend get-togethers and holiday travel plans. I said, why did I give up my perfectly pleasant, carefree lifestyle to get married? And to a man who couldn't say a single sentence without starting with, "My mom says." Amanda and Camila both had their own jobs, and we used to be inseparable, scheduling outings outside of work hours. Looking back on those days, it just brings me a flood of bittersweet memories. That night, after coming home, I soaked in the bathtub, enjoying a bubble bath, feeling relaxed and in a good mood. I picked up a call from Sam. "Honey, still not in bed? Try to get off your phone for a bit and take care of yourself. I know your mom's probably making something delicious for you. Good night, dear." Wait, honey. Before Sam could finish his sentence, I smoothly hung up the phone and happily resumed my bath. I didn't respond to any of Sam's texts after that. Life without Sam felt light and carefree. My job was relaxing, and even the competitive hiring process didn't faze me in the slightest. Suddenly, a message came in that made me laugh. Sam wrote, "Honey, where's your diamond necklace? My mom wants to wear it. You should just buy her a new one. As for my jewelry, of course I took it with me." I replied. I had taken everything I wanted, and I suspected that the mother and son duo hadn't yet realized I wasn't just on a simple vacation. Chapter 9. Sam responded, "Buying new jewelry costs money, doesn't it? You're just going to the hot springs. What if you lose it? It's my stuff. If I lose it, that's on me. You should get some rest. You've got work tomorrow. Don't forget about the mortgage, car payments, and your mom's social security, her mortgage, and her living expenses." I sent back, feeling quite satisfied as I put my phone down. Those expenses I mentioned could only be covered if both of our salaries were combined. Without my financial support, Sam wouldn't make it through this month. By next month, he'd be blacklisted as a defaulter. With his promotion and both our salaries, the three of us could have maintained a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. But Sam's ego had grown too large. He insisted that someone of his status needed a big house, a new car, and even bought his mom a home. All those costs were split between the two of us. Now, without my income, which will he miss first? The mortgage, the car payments, or his mother's social security and living expenses? Sam is a devoted son. After buying his mom a house, he not only took care of her social security payments but also gave her a monthly allowance, despite how rarely he actually ate with her. After Camila and Amanda headed to the resort, communication became spotty due to the poor signal there. Even sending messages took some time. On the third day after I left home, Camila sent me a message. "Sam made a mistake at work and got fined 2,000 yuan. 2,000 yuan isn't much, less than what I used to pay for my mother-in-law's allowance, but for Sam, who plans out every penny of his income, this fine was a significant blow." Suddenly, I thought of something. What if Sam tries to borrow money from my parents? I quickly sent them a message. "Mom, Dad, my mother-in-law is obsessed with buying health supplements, and Sam spoils her too much. No matter what reason they come up with, don't lend them any money. We're not actually short on cash." They each replied in turn, "This health supplement stuff shouldn't be bought. Why don't you try to talk some sense into them? They won't be able to buy anything if they can't borrow money. Just make sure you don't lend them anything." I quickly replied, "I know you two are doing fine. Don't worry. This kind of thing shouldn't be tolerated or encouraged." My parents reassured me, firmly agreeing not to enable my mother-in-law's obsession with buying supplements. With Sam's potential borrowing avenue blocked, I felt relieved. He didn't know many of my friends, and there was no chance Camila would lend him a penny. In fact, she'd be thrilled to see his salary docked and him out of our lives for good. Although Camila hadn't mentioned the details of Sam's work mistake, I could easily guess it was due to his unfamiliarity with the data. He had left all the work to me while he did nothing himself. It was too early to say serves him right, but that's exactly what was happening. At my brother's company, with my skills, I was thriving. Meanwhile, Sam wasn't doing so well. He started sending me messages, asking me to come back to work. He regretted telling me to quit. A few days later, he texted again, telling me he had failed to get promoted. Through his words, I could sense his frustration. He wrote, "Honey, now I realize how important you are to me." Chapter 10. I replied, "Don't be discouraged. There's always the next promotion. Keep it up." Sam responded with a long silence before saying, "Honey, you've had your fun. Now come back and help me." Wishful thinking. In my new work environment, I was already on track for a promotion thanks to my abilities. I absent-mindedly replied, "The hot springs are so relaxing." Then, his mother called, yelling at me over the phone, "The house is a mess. Sam is working so hard, and you're off at a hot spring? Get home right now. Do you hear me? Your parents gave you dowry money, didn't they? That's all Sam's. Hand it over immediately." "Oh, the house can't even afford food without me? Do you want to pawn my diamond necklace?" Suddenly, I remembered Sam asking me about my necklace. His mother didn't wear jewelry at all. What do you mean? Your necklace? You married into our family. So everything is Sam's. Her voice shrieked through the phone. Clearly, she had plenty of energy. The house wasn't falling apart. So I hung up, feeling more relaxed. At a bidding event in the same industry, I saw Sam. He looked nervous, standing at the edge of the aisle with a stack of papers, handing out brochures to passers-by. As the assistant for the bidding company, I walked past Sam, standing next to my brother. Sam was humbly handing out flyers to everyone. But when he saw me, dressed in a professional suit, his expression turned blank and bewildered. Miriam, why are you working for another company? I resigned. Didn't you know? I casually took one of the flyers from his hand and nodded at him. Keep working. I have things to do. My brother, sharp-eyed, glanced at me and Sam's interaction. The bidding is about to start. And this one is crucial. If we win it, our company will reach a whole new level. I smiled lightly. Boss, don't worry. I won't let work slip. Back when I worked at my old company, as a clerk, I was just like Sam today, handing out flyers at bidding events. At the time, he was standing on the other side of the aisle, and I was on this side. When we got tired, we'd sit in the safety stairwell, take a short break, and share a sip of water. Later, after we started dating, I took on most of his workload, and eventually, he kept getting promoted while I remained a clerk. Now, we were both standing in the same aisle again. He had returned to square one, doing the job he was doing when we first met, while I had become the bidding assistant to the boss. I walked into the bidding hall with my brother. Sam stared at me in a daze. The young man next to him, also handing out flyers, said, "Stop staring. That's a top business star from our company. She went from clerk to department head in a month and closed a ton of major deals. Her commission alone is enough to buy a villa in just 1 month." I wasn't going to tell Sam that the young man beside him was someone I had deliberately arranged to be there. I was worried that if Sam saw me, he might chase me down and cause a scene in the bidding hall. But I was overthinking it. Sam was a complete coward. Throughout the entire bidding process, he didn't make a single disruptive move. It seemed like he wanted to call me, but I had already blocked his number. I no longer responded to his messages or WeChat. When I decided to let go of this relationship and remove myself from his life, he became nothing more than a stranger to me. The young man standing next to Sam, handing out flyers, stayed with him until Sam finally stopped. The man then pulled out a business card and handed it to him. "Mr. Sam, hello. On behalf of my client, Ms. Miriam, I am serving you with divorce papers. In just 1 month, I showed him that I was doing far better without him. Without me, he was nothing. He was nothing. He was nothing. He was nothing. He was nothing.